Hi there, I'm Gil McIff, coach and trainer with Achieve Today. I've been here about 18 years now, and I'm excited to get to share some really valuable content with you today. We're going to go into depth on why people, maybe even you, are not getting permanent results from these amazing go-to clearing techniques that you've been using. There are so many different clearing techniques in the industry, and a lot of authors and experts have specialized in elaborating these techniques. We learn these techniques. We've got a lot from NLP, we've got Ho'oponopono, we've got EFT, we've got all kinds of different clearing techniques that follow a certain formula of name it, rate it, use a metaphor, re-rate it, and repeat. But there's two major elements to clearing a limiting belief. And most coaches, especially amateur coaches, tend to focus only on one, and that is the emotional element. If I'm going to clear a limiting belief, I have to rewire the neural pathways that are associated with it. Otherwise, it's a temporary experience. So we're going to break down what does that mean. Why do I get temporary results when I really want permanent results? And what has to happen in order for this to take place? So in clearing a limiting belief, there's a lot of limiting beliefs that don't have an emotional charge. For example, if I said, I'm not a very good salesperson, and I have nothing to do with sales, then that doesn't matter. It doesn't really have an emotional charge to me, so there's no real need for a clearing technique. It's just true. I'm not a very good salesperson. But let's say my company goes under and I'm looking for work and I can't really find an option that I really want to be involved with, and I think maybe I should build my own business. And obviously, if I'm going to build my own business, one major element of that is going to be sales. So I've got to promote myself, I've got to get myself out there. And if I have that belief that I'm not a very good salesperson, again, it's not an emotional charge, so I don't need a clearing technique. Right? A clearing technique just diffuses it. If you're going to rewire the electricity in your house, you first want to turn the power off, right? Well, if we're going to rewire the neural pathways in your brain, you first need to turn the power off. You don't want to touch a hot button and have somebody wake up all this emotional pain that's associated with abuse or, traumas from the past. And that's where we want to use a clearing technique. So if the limiting belief is more broad scope, like I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, all limiting beliefs are true. Every single limiting belief is true, but none of them are the truth. And the difference between these two is I could say I'm not a very good salesperson, but if I went and got some training and after 6 months of practice and putting it to refined practice where I'm getting better and better at it, I might say, I'm a pretty good salesperson. I'm not the best, but I'm a pretty good salesperson. So true can change. The truth can't change. So I'm not a very good salesperson. Is that the truth? No. Is it true? Yes. No emotional charge with this, no real big deal. So I want to go straight into how do I rewire the neural pathways. So we want to look at a belief. The biology of a belief is neural pathways in the brain. These neural pathways are much like a circuit. So when information comes in, it hits my memory, this information from the past that I've stored, to say, what does that mean? If I have no experience with this new information coming in, I don't know where to put it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Am I good enough or not good enough? It's new to me. I don't have a belief. But if I've had experiences before, like I hate that nasty salesperson who took advantage of me and robbed me, or I've watched too many TV shows where salespeople are just slimy people, right? Well, that's what's building my belief. It's my experiences. Experiences build beliefs. So with the experiences of the past, what are my experiences that build the point of view that I'm not a good salesperson? The experiences would be maybe I've tried and failed. Maybe I just had a relative who was a cocky, arrogant person and happened to also be in sales, and I just kind of tied those together. I don't like salespeople. So even I don't like salespeople is a limiting belief. How could I ever become a salesperson? Right? How could I ever feel good about myself if I think I don't like salespeople or salespeople are sleazy, something along those lines? There's millions of limiting beliefs, millions of limiting beliefs. So just using this, I don't like sales or I'm not a salesperson as an example, you get the idea. If there's not an emotional charge, I don't need a clearing technique, but what I do need is to see this story that built this belief, these experiences from the past, I need to see them from a different point of view. So when I see it from a different point of view, I have the capacity to say, oh, so it's not like that, right? I had a client who told me once, Gil, I know whatever I start, I'm just not going to finish. It's just never going to be good enough. That's what I've got going on. What I start, I'm not going to finish. And she said, and I know where it came from. When I was growing up, my father always used to say, "You can do better than that." And that's how she explained it to me. And I said, you know, makes sense. If I grew up with a father like that, I'd probably feel the same way. But I said, you know what, let's put Dad off to the side for a second and just take that phrase, doing better. You can do better than that. So we took that phrase, you can do better than that, and I asked her, what would that mean? If you're doing better than that, what would that mean? If you were doing better in life, what would that mean? And she said, well, I'd probably be more successful. I'd be making more money. I said, do you really believe that? She said, yeah, it makes sense. I'd be more successful, making more money if I was doing better. Okay, well, what would that do for you if you're more successful, making more money? She said, well, and here's where it got real. She kind of sighed for a second. Well, life would probably be a lot easier and I'd probably be a lot happier. And again, I challenged her, do you really believe that? If you were more successful, making more money, that life would be easier and you'd be happier? And she thought for a second and said, yeah, I think so. Then I said, is it possible that that's what your dad was trying to say, but based on how he grew up and his conditioning, he didn't know how to say it any better than that. In other words, he was trying to say, sweetheart, I love you so much. I just want you to be happier. I want your life to be easier. And if you're more successful, making more money, then it seems like that's a good way to go. And so, yeah, I totally believe in you. You can do better than that. You've got greatness in you. And I just want to bring that out. But the only way he knew how to say it was, you can do better than that. She thought, and then she started crying and laughing at the same time. It's a new point of view. I never thought of it that way, Now, the old data, which could be triggered by the similar kind of thing, she's watching a movie and some guy says to their child, you can do better than that, would trigger her memory of this. That old data now, her memory, doesn't mean what it used to mean, right? Because she's seen it from another point of view that is as believable as the other. Right? Because she admitted her dad had a rough childhood, that her grandfather was an alcoholic and heavy-handed. And so he didn't abuse her, her father didn't abuse her, but mentally, emotionally, maybe in this way, verbally, it ended up producing a limiting belief. So most of these limiting beliefs that we're working on here definitely were born in childhood. Most of them were born in childhood based on how our parents treated us. Whether it's natural parents or adoptive parents or the system, whatever our parenting figures were, this is where we learned our own identity, beliefs about ourselves. It's not going to be good enough, I'm not going to be good enough. So when we see that data from a new point of view, in our neural pathway, we create a fork in the circuit. So instead of the fan coming on, we've also wired this over to a light bulb coming on. And now the fan, let's say that feels heavy. And the light bulb feels light. The fan, negative emotion. The light bulb, positive emotion. As soon as I make that new connection and say, oh my gosh, I see the probability of this being true, then I now have a choice. If some trigger arises on the outside and that neural pathway is being activated, my memories, my conditioning, my program is being stimulated or activated by this new data, what's my interpretation? What's my point of view? I have an option now, negative or positive. If you have an option, you're always going to take the more favorable, right? You'll always take the more favorable if you're given an option. So to get permanent results, we have to find the benefit of what built the limiting belief, of that experience from the past. And until I do that, I've got these great techniques that help me manage my state. Now, I'm suggesting that unless we rewire the neural pathways, we are not going to get a permanent result. I'm going to put that in asterisks because there's always an exception to the rule. But by and large, if I'm using a technique to get rid of something, what is it that I want to get rid of? A behavioral pattern? Maybe. I want to behave differently. Well, what's associated with this behavior? An emotion, right? It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I don't want to feel this way. So my clearing technique, let's say I use the river clearing. Many of you that are familiar with Achieve Today's coaching platform and the resources, one of those techniques that we'll teach is the river clearing. If I use the river clearing, the emotion goes. right? And you know, I was feeling this way. Maybe I even called up and talked to one of the coaches and had them walk me through this river clearing, and I feel so much better. I feel relieved. Thank you. But did I change the neural pathway? Did I change my perspective? If I didn't learn the lesson. And you know, if you don't learn the lesson, then it's just going to come up again. So once you learn the lesson, once you find the value, that's the purpose of a limiting belief. It's to teach you something. If you don't get that lesson, it's going to come up again. So when you find the value of a limiting belief, when you find the benefit, this comes from NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, taught this. I went through my training in 1999. The benefit of the benefit. If I find the value of it, it benefits me. I can see how some good came from it. Maybe not necessarily good in it, but what good came from it. And then what good came from that? And what good came from that? So that first what benefit was there is like making a string connection. And what good came from that is reinforcing it. And what good came from that, reinforcing it again. So I turn that string more into a cable. So I solidify that new belief with the benefit of the benefit process. This has to happen, or we're going to do it again later. All right? So we could go on and on and on. I think I have limited time to elaborate here, but if you want more, please visit our website, achievetoday.com, and there's an opportunity for you to fill out an application where you could have a consultation with one of our experts on the inside, and what they'll do is contrast where you are now with where you want to be and help make that determination together, if we could help you get what you want faster than you would without us. So thanks for paying attention. Hope you took some good notes, and we're happy to elaborate more in the future.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you found value and you would like to hear more of what these coaches are saying each and every week, please subscribe to our channel so that you can continue to get these episodes. We hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.